Sean, obviously it's virtually impossible to project exactly what's going to happen. I don't have a crystal ball, and neither do you. But it's not an unreasonable position to say Donald Trump is going to be a convicted felon, possibly in federal prison by the time the election comes around next November. I just can't even believe I'm saying that, but that's true. That's the likely scenario. How does that even work for a nation? How does a nation not come apart if that is the case?
Well, I had Alan Dershowitz on my show yesterday. In Colorado, it's the first state that's addressing this 14th Amendment issue about whether Trump can even be on the ballot. And I take what you're saying, which is the legal. In Georgia, I don't mean to bounce all over the place, but in Georgia, if you get convicted, you go to jail right away. It's a very interesting system they have there. So I think that there's the whole thing that you're talking about. But then there's hey, we'll throw the kitchen sink at the guy and make sure that he doesn't even get on the ballot under the guise of the 14th Amendment. It is amazing. Dershowitz, who is no fan of the president's, by the way, he just believes in the Constitution, thinks that it literally would tear apart the country. I got to agree with him. I think the idea of trying to ban a candidate that you don't like from appearing or even imprisoning them is something that you hear about in banana republics.
Sean, you say tear apart the country, and I agree. I've used similar language. I think it would as well. And yet, because it is, in my opinion, and you may not share this, the likely outcome, and someone's going to have to tell me how a D.C. jury is not going to convict him, or a New York jury. They are. Of course they are. So what does tear apart the country actually mean? What does that look like? We're talking about riots in the streets?
I hate to say stuff like that because I feel like somehow they'll turn around and say Jesse Kelly and Sean Spicer advocated for something. But I think that there are people that rightly so would be concerned that you're literally taking a political opponent off the ballot or imprisoning them. I would hope that in the case that of each of these cases that, in terms of appeals, that he can at least outlast the election. And then he would be able to get back in office before there was a final outcome. I've got to look at these things and say, there's no way, right? You take them piece by piece and say, in Georgia, it doesn't make sense. He was a federal official. They're using racketeering and they're going after his attorneys. I just got to believe each one of these has extenuating circumstances that go to the Supreme Court and they overturn it, as well as the attempt to use the 14th Amendment. But if not, I do have to believe that people are just going to go absolutely nuts. How it manifests itself, I don't know yet, but I can't believe that people will sit back and say, okay, that's okay. A guy who is on the ballot. Remember, in each of these cases, especially when it comes to the 14th Amendment, he was never convicted of insurrection. Frankly, nobody's been convicted of insurrection or even charged with it. So how do you keep someone from getting on a ballot who's never been charged with a crime that you're using as the predicate to keep them off?